The Arab-Israeli conflict is one of the most enduring and complex conflicts in modern history. It's a conflict that has claimed countless lives and generated endless debate. At its heart lies a dispute over land and resources, intertwined with competing national and religious aspirations. The conflict has its roots in the late 19th century, with the rise of both Zionism, a movement advocating for a Jewish state in Palestine, and Arab nationalism, which sought self-determination for the Arab people, including those in Palestine. This struggle for land and identity has led to numerous wars, uprisings, and peace negotiations, none of which have brought about a lasting resolution. The conflict's impact extends far beyond the borders of Israel and the Palestinian territories. It has fueled regional instability, sparked international terrorism, and divided global opinion. Understanding this intricate conflict requires delving into its historical context, examining the key events that have shaped it, and analyzing the perspectives of the different parties involved. The Arab-Israeli conflict is etched into the landscape. From Jerusalem, sacred to Jews, Christians, and Muslims, to the fertile plains and arid deserts, this land has seen centuries of conquest and conflict. Its strategic location made it a prize for empires. The rise of Jewish and Arab nationalism set the stage for conflict. The Balfour Declaration of 1917 further complicated the situation. Increased Jewish immigration escalated tensions. Clashes over land and resources led to violence. As World War II ended, the situation in Palestine grew tense. The Holocaust strengthened the Zionist resolve for a Jewish state. Jewish immigration surged, fueling demands for independence. Arabs opposed partition, seeing it as colonialism. Tensions escalated, setting the stage for conflict. In 1947, the UN proposed a partition plan. Arabs rejected it, leading to war. The British mandate for Palestine ended on May 14, 1948. On the same day, David Ben-Gurion declared the independence of the State of Israel. The declaration was met with joy by Jews around the world. However, it also marked the beginning of the 1948 Arab-Israeli War. Neighboring Arab states invaded the new state. The war was brutal, with atrocities on both sides. The 1948 war shaped the Middle East for decades to come. The 1948 Arab-Israeli War, also known as the War of Independence in Israel and the Nakba, or catastrophe in the Arab world, was a pivotal event. Israel secured its independence and expanded its territory beyond the UN partition plan. The war displaced hundreds of thousands of Palestinians, creating a lasting refugee crisis. Jerusalem was divided, with the west under Israeli control and the east under Jordanian control. The defeat was a humiliating blow to Arab pride and fueled Arab nationalism. Armistice agreements were signed, but lasting peace remained elusive. The 1948 war marked the birth of Israel and sowed seeds of future conflicts. The period leading up to the Six-Day War in 1967 was marked by escalating tensions and political maneuvering. The fragile peace after the 1948 Arab-Israeli War was eroding. The early 60s saw increasing skirmishes along Israel's borders. The formation of the PLO in 1964 heightened tensions. Egypt under Nasser adopted more aggressive postures. The Cold War dynamics between the US and the Soviet Union influenced the region. In May 1967, provocative moves escalated the situation. Egypt massed troops in Sinai and blockaded the Straits of Tiran, pushing the region to the brink of war. On June 5, 1967, Israel launched a preemptive strike against Egypt, marking the beginning of the Six-Day War. This decision was driven by existential fear and strategic calculation. Operation Focus targeted Egyptian air bases, achieving air superiority within hours. Israeli ground forces then advanced in the Sinai Peninsula. Jordan and Syria, bound by defense pacts with Egypt, entered the fray. Israel swiftly captured the West Bank and advanced towards East Jerusalem. Israeli paratroopers captured Jerusalem on June 7th. By June 10th, Israel had captured the Golan Heights, ending the war. The aftermath of the Six-Day War had far-reaching consequences that continue to reverberate through the Middle East. Israel's territorial gains included the West Bank, East Jerusalem, Gaza, Sinai, and the Golan Heights. The occupation placed Israel in control of a large Palestinian population, sowing seeds for future conflicts. UN Security Council Resolution 242 called for withdrawal from occupied territories and a lasting peace. For the Arab world, the defeat was devastating, leading to political upheaval. The war also had significant implications for Cold War dynamics, with the US and Soviet Union deeply involved. In Israel, the war led to a sense of triumph and national pride, but also sparked debate about the future of the occupied territories. The Six-Day War reshaped the Middle East, and its consequences continue to influence the region's politics and conflicts to this day. The Yom Kippur War, which erupted on October 6, 1973, shattered the illusion of Israeli invincibility. Launched by Egypt and Syria on Yom Kippur, the holiest day in the Jewish calendar, it caught Israel off guard. The surprise attack planned by Anwar Sadat and Hafez al-Assad exposed vulnerabilities in Israel's intelligence. The initial hours were marked by chaos and setbacks for Israel. Egyptian forces crossed the Suez Canal, breaching the Bar-Lev line. Simultaneously, Syrian forces attacked the Golan Heights, capturing strategic positions. The war sent shockwaves through Israeli society, shattering the post-Six-Day War confidence. Prime Minister Golda Meir faced a crisis of unprecedented magnitude. Despite initial setbacks, Israel launched a determined counteroffensive. On the Golan Heights, Israeli troops repelled the Syrian advance. In the south, General Ariel Sharon led a daring counterattack across the Suez Canal. The Yom Kippur War saw complex military strategy and superpower involvement. Though brief, the war had a profound impact on the Middle East. The Oslo Accords, signed in 1993, marked a watershed moment in the Arab-Israeli conflict, offering hope for a peaceful resolution. These agreements, reached through secret negotiations, aimed to pave the way for a two-state solution. The Oslo process unfolded against a backdrop of significant regional and international transformations. The collapse of the Soviet Union reduced Cold War tensions, creating an environment more conducive to dialogue. The First Intifada demonstrated the yearning for self-determination among Palestinians. The secret talks were facilitated by Norwegian diplomats, providing a neutral platform for negotiations. The negotiations were fraught with challenges, mistrust, and deep-seated historical grievances. Both sides demonstrated a willingness to compromise and take calculated risks. Yasser Arafat made significant concessions, recognizing Israel's right to exist and renouncing violence. This recognition addressed a core Israeli security concern and opened the door for direct engagement with the PLO. The Oslo Accords, formerly known as the Declaration of Principles, were signed on September 13, 1993, with President Bill Clinton presiding. The images of Yasser Arafat and Israeli Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin shaking hands became iconic symbols of hope. The Accords established a framework for a 5-year interim period of Palestinian self-governance. The interim agreement addressed key issues such as Palestinian self-rule, security cooperation, and the phased withdrawal of Israeli forces. The Oslo Accords were met with mixed reactions. Many Israelis and Palestinians welcomed the agreements as a historic opportunity. However, there were also voices of skepticism and opposition on both sides. Some Israelis viewed the Accords as a betrayal, jeopardizing their security and historical claims. On the Palestinian side, some factions, including Hamas, rejected the Accords outright. The implementation of the Oslo Accords proved to be a daunting challenge. The Accords were vague on crucial details, leaving ample room for interpretation and disagreement. The issue of Israeli settlements in the occupied territories was deferred to later stages. The assassination of Yitzhak Rabin in 1995 dealt a severe blow to the peace process. Despite the challenges, the Oslo Accords represented a significant milestone. They ushered in an era of direct negotiations and official recognition between Israelis and Palestinians. The accords provided a framework for future negotiations and demonstrated the potential for dialogue and compromise. The First Intifada, which erupted in December 1987, marked a turning point in the Palestinian struggle for self-determination. The Intifada, Arabic for shaking off, was a spontaneous and widespread uprising against Israeli occupation. The uprising was fueled by years of frustration, anger and despair among Palestinians. The Intifada was characterized by a variety of resistance tactics, ranging from mass demonstrations to stone-throwing protests. Palestinian youth, often armed with rocks and slingshots, confronted heavily armed Israeli soldiers. The Intifada was not a centrally organized movement, but rather a grassroots uprising. The Intifada took Israel by surprise. The Israeli government struggled to contain the widespread civil unrest. The Israeli military's response was often heavy-handed, leading to numerous Palestinian casualties. The images of Israeli soldiers confronting Palestinian stone throwers sparked international condemnation. The Intifada had a profound impact on Palestinian society. It fostered a sense of national unity and purpose. The Intifada also gave rise to new forms of social and political organization within Palestinian communities. The Intifada had significant implications for the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. It shattered the illusion of stability and control that Israel had sought to maintain. The Intifada demonstrated the resilience and determination of the Palestinian people. The Second Intifada, also known as the Al-Aqsa Intifada, erupted in September 2000, following Ariel Sharon's visit to the Temple Mount. The visit, perceived by Palestinians as a provocation, ignited long-simmering tensions. The Second Intifada differed from the First Intifada in several significant ways. While the First Intifada was largely characterized by civil disobedience, the Second Intifada witnessed a more militarized form of resistance. Palestinian militant groups carried out suicide bombings and armed attacks against Israeli targets. The Israeli response to the Second Intifada was swift and severe. The Israeli military launched large-scale incursions into Palestinian cities and imposed strict closures. The Second Intifada was a period of intense violence and bloodshed. The Israeli closures and incursions crippled the Palestinian economy. The violence and instability undermined efforts to build Palestinian institutions. The Second Intifada also had a profound impact on Israeli society. The wave of suicide bombings created a climate of fear and insecurity within Israel. The conflict deepened political divisions within Israeli society. The Second Intifada marked a turning point in the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. It shattered the remnants of hope and optimism from the Oslo peace process. The violence and bitterness left a legacy of mistrust and animosity. The Gaza Strip, a densely populated coastal enclave, is a focal point of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Home to over 2 million Palestinians, Gaza faces ongoing conflict and humanitarian crises. The 2005 Israeli disengagement was seen as a step towards peace, but peace remains elusive. Hamas took control in 2007, complicating the conflict. The 2007 Israeli blockade devastated Gaza's economy. The conflict continues with frequent fighting. The asymmetric conflict results in many Palestinian casualties. Gaza's people are trapped in a cycle of suffering. One of the most devastating chapters in the Gaza conflict unfolded in late 2008 with Operation Cast Lead. The operation, launched in response to rocket fire from Gaza, resulted in the deaths of hundreds of Palestinians. The operation also caused widespread destruction of infrastructure in Gaza. The international community condemned the high civilian death toll and the scale of destruction. A UN fact-finding mission concluded that both Israel and Hamas had committed war crimes during Operation Cast Lead. The Goldstone report was highly critical of Israel's conduct during the operation. Despite the international condemnation, the cycle of violence in Gaza continued. In 2012, Israel launched Operation Pillar of Defense, another major military operation in Gaza. 2 years later, the conflict escalated again with Operation Protective Edge. Operation Protective Edge resulted in the deaths of over 2,200 Palestinians and 73 Israelis. The 2014 war caused unprecedented destruction in Gaza. The repeated rounds of fighting have had a devastating impact on Gaza's infrastructure. The destruction of homes, schools and hospitals has exacerbated the humanitarian crisis. The psychological toll of the conflict on the civilian population has been immense. The Arab-Israeli conflict continues to cast a long shadow over the Middle East. The conflict has left an indelible mark on the region, shaping its political landscape and fueling regional instability. The human cost of the conflict has been immeasurable, with countless lives lost and generations scarred by violence. The search for a just and lasting peace has been elusive, hampered by deep-seated mistrust and competing narratives. Despite numerous attempts to broker peace, the two-state solution has remained elusive. The expansion of Israeli settlements and ongoing violence have cast a pall over the prospects for a negotiated settlement. The international community has struggled to find effective mechanisms to break the deadlock. The United States has often faced criticism for its perceived bias towards Israel. The legacy of the Arab-Israeli conflict is a stark reminder of the human cost of unresolved conflicts. The conflict has highlighted the interconnectedness of the region, demonstrating how conflicts can have ripple effects across borders. Despite the seemingly intractable nature of the Arab-Israeli conflict, the pursuit of peace remains an imperative for the stability and prosperity of the wider region. Achieving a just and lasting peace requires a fundamental shift in mindsets, recognizing shared humanity and engaging in dialogue and compromise. A two-state solution remains the most viable option for sustainable peace, ensuring self-determination for both Palestinians and Israelis. International actors play a crucial role in facilitating dialogue and promoting confidence-building measures. Education, cultural exchanges, and people-to-people initiatives can foster empathy and create a constituency for peace. The future of the region depends on the courage, compassion, and political will of both Israelis and Palestinians working together for peace and justice.